All right. Today's requests of what you'd like me to talk about, please?
Holy relationships. The meaning of sin. Homelessness.
Creating a new paradigm.
Forgiveness.
Separation.
Despair.
Despair. Okay, thank you. All right. Sometimes the folks online will say, you know, we couldn't hear what they were saying. You don't need to. Control freaks. I try to repeat them back during the service, so if you listen, I'll bring them up every so often. But they're, you know, quite diverse. Service, holy relationships, homeless and sin, new paradigm and forgiveness, and so on and so on. Despair, I mean, a lot of different things. You know, and the Yogananda quote that was read, I was just listening as Robert was reciting that. One of the themes in what he was saying was the concept of service, which one of you then brought up. It's an interesting thing because service is how we restore everything, right? Service isn't like just an act of, well, I'll be of service because then I can cash in on the good karma. You know, and service isn't supposed to be like obligation. It's, you know, that's service from your head. True service is just an obvious, natural extension. Like, how could I not? Right? Technically, when Jesus is performing miracles and healing people, I mean, technically he's being of service. We may not use that word, miracle working and service, you know, hand in hand, but they are the same. It's just depending on it's a qualification. In other words, if I, on a 0 to 10 scale, think of myself as a 2, then my service level is a 2. But when I know who I am and it's a 10, my service level's a 10. We call one miracle working and the other not. But in a sense, they're all miracles because they all improve a moment. Anything that improves a moment is a form of a miracle. Especially when the moment that is improved, when there's a consciousness shift, even if it's this much. When there's a shift in consciousness, that's really the definition of a miracle. We sort of think of external shifts as the big miracles, and then internal are like, well, those are nice, but it's funny. Humans who are, you know, they want the opposite miracles, the ones that aren't really that big of a deal, right? The real miracle is the consciousness shift. Do you want peace or do you want a thing? Well, I don't know. It depends what the thing is. I'll forego peace if I can get a car. I'll forego peace if I can have a great, passionate relationship. You know, that's bargaining, you see. So that's the person who's a 1 or a 0 in consciousness. And so the service they can give and the service that they can attract is going to be lower in vibration. I'm glad that they're looking for any changes in their life, but truly, the real miracles are here. They're shifts in consciousness, which, by the way, the word is ideal. We think ideal means, you know, an ideal day, an ideal job. Spiritually, the word ideal is synonymous with a mantra. A mantra in Sanskrit means like a tool of the mind, a focus tool. You know, where we sit there and think that a mantra is, you know, just repeating something and it has some magical power. If you don't show up while you're doing it, it has no power at all. No prayer, no mantra, no chant. They're empty if you're empty. The point of a mantra is to focus your mind. Why? Because you're a holy child of God. When God said, let there be light, boom, something happened. God didn't say, well, wait a minute, what am I having for lunch? Oh, let there be light. What do I kind of like? Okay, because I kind of like, you know, as long as it's, you know, green light, you know, I want to make sure that this is all energy efficient light. God didn't go to all those places that humans go. Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, you're far too lenient of mind wandering. Duh. Like, no kidding. Like, so an ideal, it's an odd word to use, But in the West, we've developed that. The word ideal means your mantra, your focus word. What is your ideal? What's yours? And you may not even have ever thought of it. And when you say, well, mine's some long Sanskrit kind of a thing, an ideal is a word or two. It's more effective and more efficient, especially for Westerners, to use because they're simple and they're clear and you can pronounce them. And they're always feeling words, sublime feeling words. So in all the decisions you make, left, right, up, down, this car, that car, this date, that date, people just kind of do things and they're living a dualistic life. Jesus in A Course in Miracles says the same thing. Ideal. Gurdjieff, Ouspensky, Edgar Cayce, they all talked about everyone should have an ideal. But nobody even knows what it is, what it means. It is what is your word, your key focus word to measure your life, to make your decisions by. So for example, it might be, Course in Miracles is saying, you let inner peace be your guide, right? Another individual, Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss. He was telling you, follow a key word. If you don't know, like Cheshire Cat says to Alice, where are you going? She goes, I don't know. You know, he goes, then it really doesn't matter which road you take. If you want to sit there in the middle of the ocean with a sailboat, sails down, rudder in the, sails, the oars tossed, and you just sit there going, I wish, man, that my life had some direction. Really? Really? Then point the boat in some direction. Get the oars in the water. You're like, come on, take responsibility. Where would you like to go? I don't know. Well, then you're doing just fine. Nowhere. He's a real nowhere man. So you've accomplished it. Mission accomplished. So you die, you go to the other side. How'd you do? I don't know. What did you accomplish? Nothing much. Just dated now and again. Oh, great. So nowhere man, we have a perfect parting gift for you. Tell them what they're going to get, St. Peter. Well, you didn't make it to heaven, but you get to go back to earth, and then hell again, until you can just grow up, show up. Wow. Change channels. But your focus word, what is it? I mean, if I were, let's just cut to this, jump ahead real quick. If you were to be the god or goddess of something, what would it be the god or goddess of? I've used this analogy before. What would it be? Just make something up. Creativity, peace, throw some words out. Love. What is it? Music. Poetry. Family. Great. Now, because you just thought of one, and if you didn't think of one quickly, just come up with one. So that we could say in a pure instant, everybody has a word that they feel comfortable with, which, by the way, you're allowed to change. Now, I don't mean every 3 seconds because that's an unfocused mind. But you might find, my word is creativity, and you might totally delve into it, become it, and go, it feels complete. I'm going to now change my word to something else. When I was around 18, I used the word enlightenment because in school, philosophy and the concepts of philosophy and quotes and books that I would find and, cool quotes and spiritual things. It was like people talked about find enlightenment. So I was like, yeah, that would be my focus word. So I used enlightenment for a few years. Somewhere in there I went, I have that now. I feel, I'm not saying I'm praising myself. I'm saying I felt that was adequate. I was there. I changed it to a Christ consciousness. And that's why, look at how I teach and what I teach about Christ consciousness. That's because it became me and I became it. For years, that was my focus word. Somewhere in there, I also went and shifted to love and abundance. Pick a word or two. They shouldn't be similar. Like happiness and joy is a little too similar. And you don't want to use human words like excitement. Try to find a spiritual, sublime word that represents a feeling of, if God appeared to me right now, and people have that near-death experiences and they say, I felt this overwhelming, what? Love, peace, joy, oneness, right? Those are the words. Well, why just hear about that in somebody's near-death experience? What do you think you would experience if you saw God? Oh, there would be this, okay, whatever it is, you could try allowing that to be your focus word. Why wait till you die? Well, you're right. This is a peaceful place. Yeah, but you had a near-death experience 48 years ago where we gave you a taste so you could do it. Oh, I didn't get it. You're right. You didn't. And back you go. So God is what? It's a feeling. God is not a thing, remember. It's a feeling. So I could make my mantra, my ideal, peace, joy, love. Like I said, love and abundance I used for a while. So find a word or two that feels right for you. If you're in 12-step program, you might use sobriety, right? But you might say, I feel pretty adequate with that now. It might shift to something else. Inner peace. Again, Jesus says, use that as your guideline. A feeling of God. A Christian might say, what would Jesus do? It's kind of similar. So if you're the god or goddess of a word, you guys just all came up with a word, peace, joy, love, oneness, whatever, then here's the bottom line, if I may just kind of use the 2x4 here. Here's the bottom line. Every time you do a word or an action that is not conducive to the word you just shared is your ultimate goal, it's hypocrisy, it's dualistic, and it's karmic. You know, see, now some folks are like, oh, I shouldn't have come to this talk, man. Now I can't get away with this. But it's okay. To thine own self, but it's actually to thine own ideal, be true. Edgar Cayce was asked in readings about fidelity and infidelity. It's interesting because somebody asked, is it right? I'm having an affair, and is it right? Why do I feel conflicted, etc.? Another person asked the same question. One of them, he said it's fine, the other not. So is Cayce mischanneling? Like, why? So they ask him, well, why did you say yes and why did you say no? He said, it's because I'm telling you based on the person's ideal. To one person, it was okay, therefore it's okay. To another, it was not, therefore it was not. See? Be true. You can't fake it, though. You can't go, well, you know, today I'm feeling like this is okay. I'm muscle testing. Yep. Oh, come on, you know. You go and get a pendulum and go, you know, can I, you know, get this person, you know, today? Can I, whatever, they hook up or whatever? You know. Oh, yeah, Lord. Has nothing to do with my hand swinging the pendulum. You know, come on, you know. So we know how to manifest our own egotistic reality. For me, it has to really be clear to my ideal. It has to feel conducive. Sometimes it's a challenge, though, because to err is human. So sometimes you might say, well, does it feel conducive? Inner peace. How does that decide whether I should have a Pop-Tart today? I don't know. Did you notice that after Pop-Tarts you gain weight and then hate yourself? Then that's not inner peace. Oh, you know, here comes my pop. It feels peaceful to me. It's not excitement and temporary. Your word, your ideal should be in the big picture. See? I mean, you can rob a bank and go, wow, this is exciting. Is it right in the big picture? See, and you could be delusional enough to say, well, we're all one, so those funds were mine. You could pull that off and kind of, you know, for how long and how sane are you really? And sometimes you can get second opinions, and you can say, you know, to a counselor, a sponsor, well, but I'm torn between this and so on. So is it okay if I have a drink? I don't know. If your ideal is sobriety, I guess not. Right? See what I'm saying? How practical? But we don't want that. We want to get away with dualistic living. We want to get away with constantly not knowing what we're supposed to be doing. There is one answer, and we put 2 or more to everything. Which show I'm going to watch, which team I'm going to root for, or whatever. We just get torn in everything. Divided, we fall. So there's ideals and there's idols. What are idols? Ideals are internal feelings. Idols are external things, generally. Also, idols would be all the things I use as temporary replacements to make me feel better about not living up to my ideal. Did you catch that? That's what idols are about. Falsities, you know? Low self-worth, I need cocaine. Wow, I do have self-worth. No, you don't, man. It's a false idol, you know? So we do know this. With common sense, we do know this, but we want to act like we don't and keep getting away with acting so incongruent. Words like being of service. Words like one of you brought up, sin, for example. Being of service, where, when, how, and how much. Okay, let's pretend your words are inner peace. If I start to step over the line to exhaustion, guys, oh, but I'm supposed to be of service. No, to thine own ideal be true. Now, I have to say, if it were me, and I feel like I'm being of service, that's great. And they want something more is needed and more, and I'm getting past my line, there is going to be a part of me that's going to say, you've abandoned them when they needed more help than you would give. You see what I'm saying? You're going to have doubts. To err is human. But to see through it, oh, you again. Just say that to those doubts. Oh, yeah. You always say that. A great shamanic book from decades ago. This is a great story where the individual says, and I was brought to the tribe, and the tribe was doing, the journeying and so on. And he said, and they introduced me to this, and so I started journeying, and I saw these creepy characters. These alligator heads with human bodies, and they were telling me, we're the lords of this world. And he comes out of it, and they're like, how'd you do? Oh my God, I saw these freaky alligator beings, and they were telling me they're the lords of this world. And the shamanic masters go, oh yeah, they always say that. Like, oh, do you want chocolate or vanilla ice cream? Like, oh yeah, the crocodile, yeah, they always say that. Like, that's hilarious to me, The world is going to have its games. You're going to feel doubts and confusions and so on. Just say to your doubts, oh, you again. Just because you have a doubt doesn't mean you're supposed to go, oh my God, let me fan the incense to this God, the God of doubt. Even that, I'm starting to doubt. Does that resonate with inner peace? No, it does not. Then say goodbye to the doubts. Get behind me, Satan, as Jesus put it, right? No. No, not today. Yeah, but not today. And as I've said to many people that struggle with doubt, oh my God, doubts all the time. Well, you know what? Get used to becoming the master. The master. And you say, okay, doubts are not going to control me, but I will observe them. So here comes some doubts. I have these doubts all the time. When I leave the house, did I leave the stove on? And I have that, let's say, all the time. Well, here's the bottom line. If you came to me for counseling, I would say, and this is an obsession of yours, I would say, out of the last 100 times that this has happened, how many times did you leave the stove on? Well, never. Then shut up. You just turn to yourself and say, hey, enough. Stop. You always do that. And besides, what's the worst case? What if you did leave it on? You'll get home and there'll be this red glowing head of the stove, right? It just sits there. You wasted about 48 cents in electric bill or gas or something, and you just shut it off. Now, if you're telling me you don't understand, I'm afraid I left the stove on and I had all my paperwork sitting on the grill. You have bigger problems than doubt. You left flammable objects. Oh, I mowed the lawn and I left the gas can sitting on the stove. Okay. And if you did, that's reasonable. So say to yourself, is that afflicting my peace, or is that a reasonable doubt? I'm dating this person and they're wanting to be intimate. I'm not sure. Stop. You don't feel peace with it yet, do you? No. Then the answer is no. Give it some more time. Okay, I give it more time. And they're like, but come on, man, it's been, a day and a half, Then you're allowed to say, oh my God, this is brilliant. I saw this talk about ideals and being true to you. Oh, and you're so not resonating with my ideal. You know, it's okay. Oh, but then I'm going to be lonely. Really? Is that the voice of God? Yeah, God's going, oh, I'm going to be lonely. I should give in sooner. That's not the voice of God. And I know it's an inconvenience to live to a higher ideal, a higher standard. I know. We'd like to, oh, but, you know, this person, and they're handsome, and they're or she's got money, or whatever the stories to try to justify our unhealthy behaviors. Then go back to the other and keep doing the other. But remember how many times you cried about that. To thine own ideal be true. So whatever ideal word you came up with a little while ago, and if you just tuned in or just got in the room, you know, I asked everybody, think of a word. If you're the god or goddess of something, what would it be? Creativity, peace, joy, happiness, oneness, sublime feeling words. And now think about how simple this has been. We could end the talk now and everybody could go out just with that statement and you'd be changed. Your whole life would change if you only stayed true to that ideal. Don't do anything that is incongruent to that word. I am the goddess of peace, and you walk around gossiping. You're a liar. You're a hypocrite, and you're going to pay for it. You're better off, I don't know what I am, and just be kind of kind of mentality, and you're not held to as high a standard. Go ahead, if that's what you want to do. I want to get by with no standard, no integrity, no nothing, and I'll be measured by that, only for a while. You're still going to be asked by your own soul, hey, listen, we got to ramp it up here. The whole world's ascending, but you. You know, we got to do something to get you to wake up. So you're still going to get it. You know, learn the hard way. But when you do choose a word, there's a danger, but it's a good danger, meaning you are now held to that. If you don't want to be, then don't say you're the goddess of something. Don't tell people you're all about creativity. Don't say, oh my God, I just love this concept of inner peace. If you're not really living to it, don't say it. Watch what you ask for, because when you say, oh, I'm the goddess of, the universe says, really? Let's watch. Let's check that out. And it's not like there's some vindictive universe that's trying to punitive, punish you for every flaw. But I'm saying we're asked to live by that standard. This is a choice we can make and we will make. At some point or in some lifetime, it's something we will do. Am I done with idols, the replacement things, these, just get by kinds of concepts? Or am I ready to live to a higher standard? It's actually, you don't have to do this, you get to. You get to say, peace. Peace is my compass. Joy is my compass. Love, oneness, self-worth. The two most common words I recommend when I'm doing sessions and workshops and things, the most common mantra or ideal is love and self-worth. Mainly because when I'm doing sessions, it's a lot of times with people that have been hurt, relationship hurts, betrayals. So love and self-worth become a great pair. Because think about those words. One, I'm loved and I'm resonating with love. That's really big. But also self-worth. Teaching people to live with self-worth as their compass. It tells them automatically, do I date? My friends said I should. Compass them. They're not resonating either, Come back to here. And it doesn't mean you have to cut everybody out, and put all your friends on notice because they suggested you date somebody. What you say is, joy is my compass. This doesn't feel joyous. Oh, but you do, but. Oh, wait a minute, wait. Am I hearing correctly that you're trying to make me go against my... See, do that. Call them on it. And if they say, yes, we definitely want you to go against your highest ideal, bye. But hopefully they'll say, well, no, we would never do that. And they'll at least back off and they get a reprieve. Okay, they're only put on probation. So, it's so common. So ideals are an inner feeling. Love, peace. Let's do some really cosmic kind of talk, and I'll give you mantras you don't understand, and we'll talk higher dimensionality, and you could leave going, whoa, mind blown, right? What we're talking about is in the top few things, most important things any person on the path should know. If you don't have an ideal, you don't have focus. You're drifting. come up with an ideal rather than an idol. Remember, the idols are compensatory. So idols are things, but ideals, sublime feelings. If you, let's just say hypothetically, let's pretend for the next year, you follow this concept of an ideal, peace, joy, oneness, and you die a year later, I'm telling you, living by that meant you were living by the guidance of God. You are absolutely far more evolved than a person who's jumping around reading and meditating and trying all kinds of spiritual cool things, but tangentially. One thing consistent, this compass. Joy is my compass. When I'm not feeling joyous, I'm probably not going the right direction. This is only true 90-something% of the time. It'll happen on occasion that you'll follow what you think was the most joyous, and once in a blue moon, it didn't work out that way. Once in a blue moon, you'll say no to something that you probably could have been okay doing. It's worth it. It's worth it for 2% of the time or whatever for you to miss something. And the 98 or 90-something% of the time for you to land it, it's worth it. Because the universe is going to say, you know what? We're going to help clear up the environment of this person's mind a little bit because they seem to be really clear about this. See, they're not, if you're relaxed, everything around you, your environment's going to be relaxed. If your world is chaotic, everything's going to be chaotic in your energy, your environment of your mind. So the more you're like, no, I'm like this. The universe at first goes, yeah, you always say that, you know. And so it just supports more chaos and indecision. When you start living up to it and you make choices according, they're like, this person's serious. Like, they really are following what feels like, what resonates with bliss or peace or joy. Go back in time. Do you think people, if they would have checked in, do you think they would have ever said, joy, slavery? Yeah, I think that could kind of work. They couldn't have done it. Do you understand what I'm saying there? Do you think addiction would have been ever as rampant as it is if people went, inner peace, heroin, you know? Probably not. Should I drink and drive? Well, the commercials say not to. I don't need a commercial right here. Does that resonate with peace? It does not. And I'm not talking about you living to my ideal, me living to your ideal. I'm saying to thine own ideal be true. And to you, you might say, well, this doesn't feel like peace for me, so I have to say no. Someone else might say, how could it not feel like peace? We're going to go to Fatima, you know, and chant and sit amongst all the people praying where Mother Mary appeared. It sounds really spiritual. Yeah, but it doesn't resonate with me to be on a bus with people for a zillion hours, traveling from one place to another, some of them getting car sick, and no, it just doesn't resonate. Some people might have tangible reasons why they don't get why it doesn't work for you, but they're not you. So you say, you know, listen, let's go out this week. Okay, great. We're going to go to a movie. It feels right. I want to go to a movie. Great. Can't wait. You know, popcorn, synthetic butter, piled up. That's me. I totally love that, man. Pour it on. Pour it on. Take it to where it would kill somebody and then back it off just a little. That's what I want for popcorn. That's what I do when I go to those places, which is why they don't allow me in. So that's almost true. No more. You know, just watch that liquid gold. So it resonates. I'm going to go to a movie. And then you're like, okay, great. You know, friends, you know, we're going to go. Okay, well, who's going? Well, just some friends. That already doesn't feel totally right for me. And then you're like, and they want to see Friday the 13th, part 28. No thanks. Oh, you're bailing on us. Oh, here comes all the false friends stuff. You know, wait, I'm just saying that's not for me. Some people will even say, okay, fine, I'll tell my friends, you know, they'll only go and see spiritual movies. And, you know, no, I don't need your friends hating me and judging me. Just don't tell them anything. I just don't go. I'm okay with that. But can you be okay with it? Can you take the hit when you live according to this and some people don't dig it? You and I have to learn to navigate the world that doesn't always get that. that will not always be respectful about it. You know, there was a get-together a few years after my high school graduation, like 80 years ago. And, you know, and I heard about it. Somebody said, hey, you know, I ran into somebody a year after this, after they had this party, you know. And Michael, how's it going? You know, and I said, oh, good to see you. What are you doing? You know, I'd have to be tactful in how I say what I do, and you know, and all that. And so I'm probably 20 to 22, somewhere in that time frame, age-wise. And they said, oh, well, we understood why you didn't make it. I'm like, really? Why didn't I make it? Well, you know, some of us were there saying, oh, he found God, and he doesn't, you know, he doesn't believe in partying, and I'm like enjoying the view. Wow, really? Is that why I didn't go? Really? And you know, yeah, well, you know, some people are like that. They, you know, I don't want to be around smokers. I don't want to be. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing how you know me so well. And I said, just so you know, I never received the invitation. See, they made up stories in their mind. Would I have gone? I don't know, probably. Because I would have said hi to friends. But they knew me. They knew I was never going to, you know, I wasn't the ultra party person. I had the same beer through every party in high school. I just walk around with one beer all night and it looked like, oh, another one, you know, and make it blend in. But they knew, you know, yeah, it's Michael. You know, he's not going to get too stoned and he's not going to do this and that. Because it's not wrong. It's just not me. So try on those words. I'm good. No, this feels, you know, this resonates. This doesn't. See, if I tell you it's wrong for you to do something, I'm actually breaching boundaries, first of all. I'm imposing my opinions. That's not what I'm asking you to do. Can you learn to say, no, I'm good, you know, or I'm fine, or something like that? Hey, Michael, would you like a beer? No, I'm good. I didn't say, beer, how dare you? La, 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 la. I can't even hear that word because I'll spontaneously combust. I'll have bad spiritual karma. I'll have to come back, you know. Stop. No, I'm good. You don't have to shame people for having your center, right? They're not wrong for having a different center. They might be drifting. But if ever they ask, you can say, well, what I do is I just check in. Uh-oh. You're one of those people. They check in. You know, you say, hey, would you like some water? I don't know. Let me ask my guides. They think you're really out there. So you have to find tactful ways to explain. But who cares? It's not about whether you tell them or not. It's, are you doing it? Are you living it? So if I'm an open channel for anything, see, watch, an open channel, you know, because I can get paid a lot if I say I'm channeling. So I go up on a stage and people say, oh, you know, he channels, you know, and I just don't, I have no sense of integrity about it. I'm open to whatever, which is like dialing 1-800-666-HELL, you know? So, and just see, just whatever kind of entity, you know, like dial a payphone in LA. What are the odds of getting a mystic? Just happen to be walking by the telephone, the phone booth, remember those? And they pick up and they just channel spiritual, wow, I'm glad I dialed a vague telephone in LA on a street corner. You don't know what you're getting, but when you have an ideal, only certain beings of certain caliber can be attracted to you. You've already set a standard. See? When you have doubts, you can attract doubt. Entities of doubt. When you have fears, oh, great thing to do. Go into a, you know, exorcism home and with all kinds of fears and doubts. You know, it's like accessing your worst memories and then taking acid. You know, God, you just want to accentuate all that, don't you? It's amazing when you set a standard. For the most part, everybody else in your airspace has to comply. But have you set that standard? Well, I don't know how. Do I have to take classes? And Ideal 101, Ideal Level 1, Ideal Level 2? No, seconds. What word or two represents a feeling of God and a feeling that you not only want in your life, but you feel is accessible? See, if somebody's just starting this and you give them total enlightenment, it might be a little too far out. It has to be something you feel is attainable. Keep that in mind in your criteria. If you don't know your ideal, you will never fully know your soul's purpose. You will never fully know how to conduct your life and decisions you make. You'll still be deciding between things. You'll still need all kinds of external things to help you or blame you for making the wrong decisions. When you have this, it's pretty amazing. I've had people say, Michael, I want to give you $1 zillion. I'm going to publish a book. Okay, you want to pay for me to publish it? Great. Okay, and here's what I want you to write about. No. Yeah, but money. No. I've had people say, I'm going to give you money for a retreat. I'll give you $5 million for a retreat. And here's what I think we should do with the retreat. No. Not interested. Right? I could have people control me for free. You're going to pay me and now you're asking me to forego my integrity. It doesn't work for me. It's not computable, right, in my mind. Can you do the same? Wherever you're too weak to say no, well, because they offered so much. See? And Joseph Campbell, who coined that phrase, follow your bliss, when he wrote his first book, he had people approach him. We're going to give you money to write a book. And they started telling him what direction they wanted it to go. He checked in, and for some reason he didn't know. It didn't resonate. He wasn't feeling bliss when he thought about that company. Well, there's money. There's something that doesn't resonate, and he said no. And they thought he was nuts. When A Course in Miracles was put together, they had some people that were saying, we're going to finance it. One of the people involved knew some people that had money and said, well, I have some friends that will finance it. And God, this is great. This book has been so just fluid in so many different ways. And it's cover to cover. It's this fantastic material. Somebody's now, because this is the spiritual and new agey people that go, oh, synchronicity, it must be a yes. So they tried. And there was definitely something strong in Helen and others. Something, no. We're going to give you money. No. Ended up being trafficking money at the end of the day. How can you say no? Because there's something off for me. I notice the words for me. Whatever it happens to be, where are you? And take responsibility to say, for me, this doesn't resonate. So whether it's me, people offering for retreats, or the course being published, or Joseph Campbell, no, you know what? Be true to your bliss, your joy, your peace, whatever your word is. Sense of oneness, whatever it is. Check in. You're going to have doubts now and then. It could be something as simple as a food item. But you know what? If I'm a vegan or if I'm a meat eater or whatever I am, does that resonate with me? Am I at peace? And here's a weird little snag to all this. When you have people sort of attacking your center, they're actually testing you unconscious to them. They're actually just being rude. But they're testing you unbeknownst to them. They're testing your spiritual muscles. No thanks. No, I'm good. See? And I need not tell them, oh, I just started using this ideal and I feel so conflicted. Don't give people something to tear at, Don't cut yourself and bleed and jump in the shark-infested waters and then blame the sharks. So you don't want to, get all into their thing. But the bottom line is, to mine own self, I'm going to be true. And this is where I'm at. Making sense? It's internal. It's my walk with God. As far as I know, the goddess of creativity. Now, here's the next piece to this. This is your ideal living through you. Okay, so if you say, I'm totally, not that you announce this, but you might. It might be on your business card. Goddess of creativity, goddess of gardening, or whatever. That's fine. But at the end of the day, when people meet you, would you say that they just, as soon as they meet you, they go, oh, that totally makes sense? That's how it should come to that point. When I ran into people about 5-10 years after high school, never really saw anybody, but I ran into somebody, and it was the parents of a friend, parents of a girl that I saw once in a while in high school. And they're like, so what have you been up to? What do you do? And I'm like, oh, God, help me here. How do you explain to the parents of an old girlfriend, what you do? And, oh, yeah, spiritual, da-da-da. No, too much for them. So I said, oh, I'm a counselor. Their answer was, that makes total sense. You were always counseling our daughter and other kids when they were in trouble. I kind of remember that I did that, but I didn't in high school go, I am such a counselor. And if I would have tried to pursue the route of college academic version of counseling, it would not have resonated. It would not have resonated, you know, me in a sweater, you know, doing psychotherapy. Sorry. So how did that make you feel? Sorry if you're one of those. I totally love you. Instead, that totally makes sense. And I'm like, really, why? And then you get to hear reflected back. Well, you always. And I'm like, thank you. Because in a sense, we need to hear and soak in that confirmation. But is it there? You're the goddess of creativity, and we show up at your house and it looks like a bomb went off in your yard in every room. It just looks like, you know, a really, you know, craziness, chaos. You're the goddess of peace and creativity, and your whole life is chaos. You know, you have one ring on, lost the other one, and, you know, nails are, all the polish is half peeled, and, you know, you have their shoes on the wrong feet, and it's not peace. There's chaos. And that's not bad. Just say, I'm the goddess of chaos. And we'll be like, and so it is. You are so, oh my God, so through and through. See, Jesus said, let the inside be like the outside like the inside. Be through and through, man. This is who I am. Or you make changes. Wow, I keep talking. Because I remember one public speaker that was sometimes in conferences with me at the big New Age conferences. And I just thought, this person's always talking peace. And I've never known an author or teacher that created so much chaos at these conferences. Constant chaos, drama. Always trying to take the theme of the conference their own direction. It was all about them, you see. So it was like, wow, there's a great example of that. So at the end of the day, if you want to be a heavy metal musician through and through, right? There's this one heavy metal band. They're like, this one member, we hired him. We said, you're great. We want you in the band. But this person was like, I want to wear a suit and clean cut. They're like, that's not the ideal of the band. You know, the whole thing we're about is like, yeah, just wild. And you're like, you know, look like somebody's substitute teacher. And this person was told, you're not allowed to get a haircut. Do not get a haircut. Let it grow out. 6 months while we're rehearsing, they go on tour. He snuck out of his hotel. They had security guards. He snuck out of his hotel and got a haircut. What's that called? Passive-aggressive behavior. But the bottom line is, was it wrong for him? No. But was he in the wrong band? Yes or no? Yes. Why? Because you're a guest in our band and we have set an ideal. You don't like it. Well, who are you guys to tell me? We're not. We're saying this band, not you. If you want to be in this band, we are doing this. You don't have to be in the band. Set your standards, and that's where you get healthy boundaries. Don't act like you know what healthy boundaries are if you don't know what an ideal is. Because then you're a hypocrite. When you set rules for your kids and you're not consistent, that's the second worst form of child development. First is overt abuse, but second to that is inconsistence with parenting. And parenting isn't just children. It's your employees. It's your clients. Everyone needs to know, what are you about? I've shared this story many times, but there's a popular New Age musician, Aeolia. And he was always the number one with the celestial kind of music. And as I've said this, and I'll be brief this time, when I met him, it was just, everything was Aeolia. There was not an inconsistence. You know, there wasn't like, music, and then you meet him, he's like, oh, how's it going? No. It was knock on the door. Oh, hi, Michael, come in. Oh, white shag carpet everywhere, gold highlights. His business card was embossed with opalescent colors, and everything was so cosmic and beautiful. It's like a trip. He couldn't have a statue that he didn't glue a feather to. He had to accentuate everything and beautify everything. Totally through and through. And he started, because he's white, everything. And he had, he drove a Volvo wagon. But he had these thick white pads on the seats. Of course. Of course. But a few years later, a Rolls Royce. Because he just stuck to his truth of who he was. When his Volvo was a Volvo, it was already a Rolls Royce. If all you live in is a studio apartment, you can make it feel like a mansion. If it's through and through. And you can be a person with all the money in the world, total chaos and total mess and total whatever in your house. You see what I'm saying? It's what are you about? And get everything to match. And it's beautiful. I don't mean fake it. An ounce of that maybe is fine. But is it really through and through? Some people had to come over my house recently and they're like, oh, this makes total sense. It's just kind of a funny thing. And I'm like, what? Oh, yeah. All these angels and, fairies and that sort of thing. I had a pest control guy come over because you get a house and you have it checked every so often. By the way, I want to tell you what, man, your yard is cool. He was almost going to say beautiful, but that wouldn't have been guy enough, So he had to use a different word. But it's funny to watch the gears turn. It's going to be, this is how I am, through and through. If you talk one and you do another, that is duality, it's hypocrisy. I'm not saying you're a hypocrite, hurtfully. I'm saying the lifestyle is incongruent. Guys, incongruence will bring chaos. Every kind of challenge because someone's not in the driver's seat. We'll share that a little bit more, I guess, when we do a meditation. But think about that. Are you really there? Are you really being that thing? If music is your thing, would it be unusual to find a guitar pick in your pocket? It's kind of cool, right? Yeah, that just makes sense. If you're an artist, we just know if we go to your house, there's going to be something creative and unique about the way you have your furniture. But if it's like, well, I am an artist and I want to be unique, but I have a partner and they say, no, everything's got to be from, linear and particle board and whatever it is. And I know that's all we can afford sometimes, but IKEA land, and that's okay. For some people, that's perfect. But you want to be creative and someone says no. See, that's incongruent. Yes, it's a drag that your partner's doing that, but you are also participating in that. If you are a goddess of creativity and you're not letting it happen, I'm telling you, it's an accident waiting to happen. Because your soul knows, sweetheart, yes, what do you feel? What do you want? Peace and creativity. Oh my God, I want in my house a little waterfall somewhere, and I want music to be playing, Oh my God, and what's it really like? Kind of like a surgical room. Everything's stainless steel, and you can smell rubbing alcohol all the time. I want to smell vanilla, berries, rubbing alcohol, yeah. That's an accident waiting to happen, and I'm telling you, to the point even of a disease forming because of how you feel about this. Am I living real here? Am I being authentic? The external is fame and control and wealth. Those are the idols to make up for where you're not living your ideal. And some people can seem to be bought, right? Some people can actually, I'll go ahead and forego what I'm really looking for and settle this because I'm making so much money, or fame, or whatever else it is. Those are idols. So what do you want? Ideals or idols? What feels right for you? Ideals are simpler. They're practical. They're so clear. I wish I knew, Michael, I wish I knew what God wanted. See, people say that to me. What do you mean? You don't know? Well, no, I'm waiting for a sign. Stop Close your eyes. What is your ultimate feeling? If I could wave a wand and grant you a feeling, what would it be? Oh, peace and happiness. Okay. Dating this person or not, which resonates with the most peace and happiness? Oh, but I want to date. It's been a while. Then go to hell. Go ahead. Sacrifice. I mean, then you should just say, I'm the goddess of hell. I want to live chaos and have, then you're doing a great job. You say you want peace and happiness, then why don't we live that? Again, I know it's an inconvenience. I do. I know that I was all excited about dating and you asked me to do this and now I'm saying no to this person and now I feel alone and frustrated and that doesn't feel like peace. I understand. I asked you to check it out in the long run, the big picture, right? Michael, I'm going through divorce and, you asked me to check in. It doesn't feel like peace, so I'm not going to get that. How does it feel like staying? Like hell. See, so you're stuck between. I asked you the big picture. In the big picture, it might be a drag for a year, but I can see total peace. If I do go through with this, then that's the right answer. Because, as I'm coming to a close here, sometimes achieving your ideal, one of you used that word homeless, sometimes I'd rather be homeless and happy. That doesn't mean all homeless people are happy. It also doesn't mean the opposite, that everybody that has stuff is miserable. But if I had to choose, my beloved godmother, who I've mentioned before, really beautiful, instrumental part in my life, just even though I only saw her about once a year on average, she was always, Michael, just follow your dream, Michael. She was always bringing me Moody Blues albums. Oh, Michael, Justin Hayward and the lyrics and check this out. How does that feel? I mean, she was just so hippie-ish, before. But her family had her locked up, institutionalized because she wasn't willing to be like them. Her husband he had a lot of power. He's a bigwig and had her locked up, and it was to punish her. It wasn't like, let's lock her up and see if she's happier or see if we can medicate. No, it was all about punishing her. And when they realized she still wasn't going to conform, they let her out and she said, Michael, I won't see you anymore. I'm leaving California. I'm going to Oregon. I'm like, no. I couldn't have imagined. See, where you live, is that consistent? Think about this. Is that conducive with the word you came up with? The street you're on, the town you're in, who you date, what kind of makeup, Well, I wear makeup that I'm allergic to, but I look great for an hour. But then, everything just kind of blows up. But by then I'm home, so it's okay. You're like Cinderella hell, like, wow, the bell went off and everything's rats and pumpkins or whatever. So that might not be okay. In the big picture, you know what? That's not for me anymore. Check in. Your house, your car. I'm not saying go and buy new ones of everything right now. I'm just asking you. I could say the car I drive is totally me. It's got enough room in it to help others when they need me to help, move things around. It's this enough, it's that. Good. Right? But that's for me. It does your car feel, if you're like, I'm the goddess of flower fairies and creativity, and you're in a monster truck with wheels, 12 feet, and when cars get in front of you, just over them. It's not consistent. There's some, call me silly, call me judgmental, but I think you might be off a little bit, right? Consistent peace, joy, happiness. When I had babies, I was just so into this, like everything's going to just be cosmic, like, oh my God, you put Bible on the mom's tummy, everything is just going to be so cosmic. And that makes sense because I'm so into that. I would see people when I had a job as a kid, they would look at me and often just roll their eyes and do this with their hands when they looked at me like, he's hopeless. Because we're talking about, where they're cussing and doing things, the guys in the break. And yet I'm like reading spiritual stuff. And they'd be like, oh, this guy's hopeless. And that was a compliment. Because it meant he's just always about this. Jesus, where were you? Your parents were looking for you. How did you not know I would be in the temple? Don't you know? I mean, I was born to be the Messiah. Wouldn't I be there? What, was I going to be in a bar? I'm 12, I'm sitting in the temples. Right? That's what he was saying. Common sense. Live what you say you're looking for, and then you become it. Don't preach it. Don't talk it. Don't contradict it. Can you really step in and live it? And I can say whether I'm considered spiritual or not by others or evolved or not, one thing I know is I'm pretty consistent, and I like that. That generally people that know me, even my own kids would say, that's typical, that's dad. They know that how I'm going to be. That I'm going to look at things another way. Right? That I'm going to look the deeper lessons. That I'm going to, and people that call for sessions. Once in a blue moon, somebody will call because somebody told them, a relative, oh, you got to talk to this guy. And this person calls and they're like, fundamental whatever. And they're like, wait, how do you know these things? Did you check the internet to get? And I'm like, this is not congruent. What happened? Because someone told them they should talk to me. But they failed to tell them you should watch his programs first to see if it resonates with you. You see what I'm saying with that? That's responsible. Check it out first. Please do not come into a session for a private session. Don't watch my program. Little at a time. See if it resonates. If you have people that you doubt in terms of their open-mindedness, ask them to check it out a little first. Otherwise, you're putting them at harm. You're putting yourself at risk. People getting triggered because their religious beliefs or their personal beliefs are not matching. Try to keep everything so congruent. Keep everything nicely in alignment. That happy and homeless is better than well-housed and miserable. Of course, well-housed and happy, ideal, that's perfect. But stay true to your ideal. That ideal is God. How do I know that? Because if you have a near-death experience, you're probably going to feel peace. And that means when you feel peace, you're feeling God. Therefore, if I allow peace to be my measure of discernment, I'm allowing God to guide me. So stop saying, I wish I knew what God wanted. You do know. Go into that feeling. That's God speaking to you. My beloved, I want you to feel bliss and joy. And we're in our heads and we're doing things that create chaos and duality, and that's just our addiction. Get past that and say, I'm allowed and encouraged to feel peace. A Course in Miracles. I could see peace instead of this. Use that as your compass. As simple as all this could be for me to say these things, I can see and hear some of your thoughts, some of you. That's a little bit like, oh God, he's saying this, it sounds true, but there's no way that I could go home and make this kind of change. You can, but maybe in different time measurements than somebody else. Just try it some amount of time. Fix up your car. Oh, I can't buy a new car. Change the inside. Aeolia with his thick white wool seats. He made his reality. You follow? If that's all you can do. I was stuck in my room, which I've said many times, through middle school, high school, always on restriction, mainly for grades, or the lack thereof. Always in my room. But you know what? When I found a scrap piece of white carpet from my parents' room that was getting thrown out when they got all plush, beautiful white carpet, I took the scrap, stuck it in the corner of my room. If I'm going to be in here, I'm going to do it my way. Had headphones, my music, thick white carpet. My brother had this big Great Dane dog, ceramic dog. He set it in the trash one day. I went out and got it. It's beautiful, all glossy black, and I stuck it. It was my sentinel, right there next to my white carpet corner in my prison. But it didn't feel like a prison when I laid back, pillows. It looked like, wow, this kid's spoiled. Look what he's got. I made that. I assembled peace and reality. Put on earth, wind, and fire, and wow, yes, you're a shining star. I mean, yes, there is love, there is hope, there's peace, and listening to this kind of stuff. My own little reality. Do that. Start somewhere. What is your word? Are you applying it? Are you living it? If not, some areas, try. If you're not going to do it, that's fine. But remember, that is incongruent. Remember that. And only you are deciding that. Your own incongruence will attract karmic effects. Not because I said so, it's the way it works. When you're out of alignment, your life will show signs of being out of alignment. And when you show alignment, all the heavens, all dimensions praise that you're doing it. Because a child of God has shown up, discovered who they are by their own word, like peace, love, joy, goddess of, this, that. They've discovered they are the goddess of, and they're living that. How could that not be something that the universe would celebrate? Please take a few centering breaths. Soaking in what you heard today, what made the most sense. One of you asked about new paradigms. What is a paradigm? New paradigm. A shift of concepts. I'm going to start living this. I really feel this. I am, and what is it you are? Damaged? Then you're probably seeing that you live congruent to that. And it's probably unfortunate. Whatever you believe you are, will be. In and around you and your environment. But you have free will. Not what have you been? What in your imagination would you choose to become? To be and become. Let's pretend you're having this near-death experience. You're seeing Jesus, angels, or something, God, and it says, when you go back, we're giving you a gift to be the God or goddess of, what would it be? What would it be? And then gently ask yourself, are you already living up to that? Look at the areas that are not, just gently. I'm the God or goddess of such and such. What areas of your life are not doing it? And you don't have to get all into despair and be dismayed, because you can change it. But just for now, where is it incongruent? You have your word. What conversations, negative, reactive conversations have you had in the last month or year where you were not coming from that place that you're now seeing as your ideal? Just see it, just so we can learn. Have you ever dated anyone that was not congruent with this word? Just own it. Have you ever lived in an environment that was not congruent? Everything. Did you ever have a wardrobe that was not congruent? It's just so that we can learn how to discern what's what. and then the opposite. Have you ever made decisions, dated people, had clothing that were congruent, even before you ever even knew of the word ideal, focus word, mantra? Were you already ever dating the right person or listening to music that was congruent? Take a moment and see. And if you see yeses to some of those, give thanks, because it just shows where your soul was allowed to come through and manifest what it knew you really were about. One of you asked about the word sin, and the sin would be when you're not living, because it means missing the mark. When you're not landing on the target of your ideal, technically you're sinning. Not in the traditional churchy sense, you're missing the mark. And with sin comes karma. Take away all the dramatic reaction to those words. If I'm not being true to myself, there'll probably be a reaction of some kind. Now, lastly, what if, now knowing this, I do it? What if at least 50% of the areas that were not congruent are suddenly right? Then what kind of car would I have? What kind of relations? What kind of book would I write if I wrote a book? What kind of friendships? What kind of house decor? What kind of music? All you have to do is envision the organic answer. If I'm centered into the goddess of, then what would my life look like? That's all you're asked to do. Let it be organic. And you're starting to envision where you're going to go. You don't have to go there. You can stall. You can make opposing decisions. But if you did go, where would it go? What would it look like? If you're in the 12-step program, sobriety might have been your word, or you might have used love and self-worth, because if I know love and self-worth, I'm automatically going to live sobriety. Pick a word or two that makes the most sense and do your best to live it. When you feel like you've really landed that enough, you can always change the word or two. Sometimes you'll get inspiration that it's time to change the word. Close with a feeling of gratitude. I'm so grateful, truly grateful that I'm hearing this today. This is me reflecting to myself with God's guidance that there's somewhere new I can go in my life. Even if I'm spiritual and happy, what is the next level for me? I can go from my former mantra was happiness. Now I am pretty happy. Maybe my next word is bliss. Maybe it's joy. Maybe my word, one of them is passion. If I've lived all smothered and held down all my life, boom, I want to break free. Passion, peace, happiness. See, find a word that is also probably opposite of what you have already experienced. So my word or two is partly determined by being the opposite of what I've experienced before. Freedom might be an important word for you if you've had too much of the opposite. I give thanks that somehow I'm here, hearing, learning, feeling exactly what God has determined that I would hear. This is a first major step in my living my ideal. Not idols, ideals. I have my compass now. This is a training that I've just experienced, and I have my compass. God, you are my guide, and I know you as a sublime feeling. And so it is. Very gently stretch out a bit. At any age, you can still learn what is an ideal. You can teach children just by saying, Mom, I want this. Okay, what word? And a child might not connect with the word bliss. They might say happy. Okay, so happiness. This or this, which resonates most with happiness? You can, guide people, teach people. If you're a life coach, shift it from what do you want? I want this, and excitement. Shift it to let's make sure that we're guided by a sublime feeling. And it changes your work as a life coach just because of one thing. You gave a new criteria instead of just external, lifestyle changes. Okay? All right. Thank you very much. We're going to do our closing prayer and our collection. It'll only take a minute or two. While they're gathering those baskets and so forth, and while you're gathering your love offering, please be as generous as you can be. Your donations go in the pretty blue bags. The baskets are for just any extra donations, and the folks online, there's a link you can click there. But the baskets are for any extra donations, like you might feel called to help us with special projects or whatever it happens to be. We're going to do some painting at the property here in the building, and we have some things coming up. So if somebody feels compelled to share extra there, that's where you'd do it, the basket. Or you'd send it in with a note what you want to support, okay? That's also people of lesser means. And while we're getting ready for that, just briefly, remember that we've got the healing room here, the yurt, which is the crystal bed in there, profound. I want to thank the people that showed up for Volunteer Day yesterday because we shifted things out of 3 and 4 cabinets that are on the property, all the stuff, paints and tools and all that, over to one shed that you guys helped us pay for and manifest. So that's all cleaned up. We'll move those sheds out of there soon. Keep in mind our bookstore, our book and gift store. Things are about 30% less on what you would pay elsewhere for them because there's not a tax, but also we don't price as much as we could. We keep things as affordable as possible. So it's great there, and we have a little gift package. If you're getting for yourself or somebody else and you don't know what to get them, there's a nice package. It's, it's probably worth double what's in there, but you get a free book. You get a book, incense burner, cards, a few things that, would be nice for a gift if you're traveling. All right. Thank you if you're on social media of any kind watching. Thank you for joining us. You can share that with good discernment. Who else might be interested? Sunday, April 23rd from 12 to 3, I'll do a workshop on hands-on healing if you're interested. You can take that independently or you can take it as part of a chaplain training that we do here, but you're welcome to join us. All right? Please hold your love offering to your heart. Together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. It'll only take them a minute or two to pass the baskets around, and while they are, can anyone share what they learned or heard today that made the most sense and that might help you the most? Just share as you will. Yes.
While I was listening to you, I
Wow.
And the more aware that I have become over the years, I have been conscious in choosing which thing resonates with me and
Nice.
which doesn't. But still,
It wasn't too conscious.
no, I didn't, it didn't register as an ideal.
Yeah, right.
So it's giving myself permission to acknowledge myself.
Nice.
And I felt very acknowledged by your talk.
Good
So
job.
thank you very
So you could see in your life where there was an ideal showing up here and there, even if you weren't conscious of it at the time. And now, even in retrospect, you can give thanks that you were following something.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
beautiful. Good job.
And also, I've been chided over the years for the way I do things and how I present myself and choices that I make.
Yeah.
Now I've been held in a little bit.
Right.
So now I've given myself permission to be even more who I am.
Nice. God, that's fantastic. And like you said, now with this in mind, giving more and more permission
Yes.
to be who you really are.
Yes.
I mean, you could be the actor who says only certain roles.
Yes.
Oh, no, you should do acting. You're lucky to even have a role. That's not how I want to think. So to know love and abundance and just live that way. I'm abundant even if I don't have enough roles, fine. My integrity will be my thing. It will pay almost always. Sticking to your ideal will pay off unless you have lessons about it not and doubting. Unless you already have so many doubts you need to manifest that to work on that. But can you imagine being Joseph Campbell and saying no to a book deal? Can you imagine, what if you don't get another offer for a date for 3 years? Is it okay? God first, man. And if you know that, it won't have to be 3 years. That's only in our head that we think, whenever I do something good, I really have to lose a lot. That's bogus. That's the ego convincing us that you're losing something of value and then nothing in this world has any value. Only God and God within me. Yes.
So I was speaking to somebody who goes to a Catholic church, and she was telling me how awesome it is she's learning about the sins more in depth.
Yeah.
That's why I said that, because I like your explanation of it. It makes it much more simple to understand.
Right. Nice.
Like just internally feeling whenever we waver
Right.
from our ideal,
Right.
that can be a sin. So it's not just
Right.
limited to those 7
Right.
words. It's
Yeah.
just,
I like that leaked in at the end when I was, that sin is when you're not, the word means missing the mark. So I'm missing the mark. Here's my ideal, and I'm doing this instead of this. That's sinning, but that's a heavy word we use. So I'm being incongruent. And all actions have an equal and opposite reaction. I'm being incongruent. There'll be lessons about that. Okay? Yes. Yes. Say it again. Wanted to say what?
You're really fun.
You think I'm funny? Wow. Thank you for seeing that in me. I wish you were my child. Yes.
What I got out of this is that, by working at raising your standard, and can kind of label you and make your life a little bit isolated.
Yeah.
People are constantly judging you. Well, he's kind of nerdy, or he's kind of weird.
Right.
He's too neat. He's too organized.
Yeah.
And the best thing you can say to yourself, and I've learned to say this, it's taken me 70 years, that, to hell with it. I don't care what they think.
Right. Yeah. Learning to not care what they think. This is where I'm at. Right? This is where I'm at. And you said it's taken you 7 years. For somebody, some other people, it's 70 lifetimes. So quick learner.
But I learned
But you learned. You know, think about this. How beautiful. Do you understand that there's a vibe in what I said was it's giving you permission to say yes and no based on what feels right for you. That's what's beautiful about it. But be honest. There's possibly for many of us also a feeling of, I have work to do. And I'm sorry about that. I know that part doesn't feel fun. I need to change this and I need, you know, I get that. And I'm sorry. Not sorry that you're going to do it, but I feel for you and I understand that it can feel heavy sometimes. But one day at a time, this is where I'm going, even if it's one day at a time. You're going to get there though. And did you have luck visualizing what it would look like if you were living it? The yes or no? Yeah. And let's go. People that just visualize, I want this, that's not that whole concept of ego-based law of attraction. Don't do it. Ask this, if I were plugged into God as a feeling of love, peace, joy, what would my life look like? That's healthy co-creating visualization. Not my head going, what do I want? But rather, what is? What's just naturally there if I'm the God or goddess of peace? Joy, you see? What would naturally be there? I don't have to go, I want that car. The first thing that's going to happen in relation to a car, what kind of car? One that works, probably. Right? And then it just sky's the limit. You just stay true and you'll go, there's no limit. Somebody else had their hand up here. Yes.
It was a really beautiful reminder of owning who we are and being accountable.
Owning who we are and being accountable. Did you have luck seeing where you were incongruent? Is it kind of obvious how things can go a little wonky if you're not? Do you understand that there's a part of you that always knew what is your ideal, but another part that didn't do it even though you knew? That was incongruent and that made you sick. And that made challenges pop up in your life. The incongruence. Now we say, not today. Not interested, man. This feels so right. And some people, like you said, will have issue with that. Doesn't matter. To thine own self be true. And truly get what that means. Please stand for a closing prayer. Does this talk feel congruent? Does this type of people, this group, feel congruent? If not, there's other places. To thine own self, spiritual self, be true. When it does feel right, enjoy it. Thrive in it because it's the real higher you. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is and always is. Peace be with you all. Bye-bye.